streaming. I'm not streaming.
You sure? Give Cube a little taste again?
No, this week, hey everybody. This is not the Gaming Dadcast anymore. This is Bud's Bustin' Balls Gamecast, starring Scott's armpit hair.
So he started stretching with that. And at some point, I think is what happened. He's like, I'm going to stretch. And then he looked at himself in the camera and said, that's my armpit hair. I'm going to hold this until someone notices it.
I really wanted your desk to kind of go up and down.
Change into that. I saw him doing the thought, though, the wheel, like, oh, man, they're going to see this. I'm going to hold it. And part of me hoped that you wouldn't acknowledge it because I want to see just how long he would hold it until someone noticed that armpit hair.
He probably would have held it the whole time. I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, he's done that before. One of our friends who, what he used to do is he would lay down a very silent, unpleasant fart. And I hung around him so much that I could read his body language so well, so I know when he did it. So I'd be sitting there in the corner of my eye. I see him kind of like he was just standing there. And whenever he wanted to watch people notice it, he kind of leaned his head a little forward. So I would look at that and be like, that man wants someone to smell what just came out of his butt. I'm going to no-sell it. And then I just watch him slowly like put his head back and get sad that nobody noticed it. You know the friend I'm talking about. I
do
to him all the time.
See, you were much stronger than I. And
I
dreaded even getting near that couch that he sat on in that very specific spot every single time because it was like, indented in and it just stunk. It just stunk. It was like the cushion.
One of the most horrible experiences, like over there hanging out with him, is one day he just insisted we watch the Aqua Teen movie, which is already like kind of like a very.
I think I was there for that.
2, he insisted we watched it in his bedroom, sitting on his bed.
Yeah.
If you think the couch is bad, just think of what the bed is like. So, 1, we're sitting on Tim's bed, and it's just like sorry. Right. The first thing we're not
just say it now. I doubt he's listening, even if he is listening. I mean, he knows he's sitting there. He knows who he is.
You know who you are.
You might be proud of this story, honestly.
You know who you are. It was, yes. It was an interesting smell.
I went into his room a grand total of 1 time. I went in 1 time because he was playing Metal Gear Solid 4, and I really, really wanted to see that game. I walked in, I watched him in the detective part of that game, like where Snake is undercover, and I could not get out of that place fast enough. I was out and I went, that game ain't worth it. I love that game, it ain't worth it.
What a delightful start to this conversation. Hey, this is Bud's Bustin' Balls, the alliteration that I love so very much. We just busted another Bud's ball.
And in case of another person we're talking about, busting ass.
Delightful,
yes. And, I thought, so we talked about this story before we get into our, why people actually might actually be listening to us for. I thought that we would discuss perhaps the story of the Bud's Bustin' Balls Gamecast experience that Scott's fellow coworker had. We discussed it off air, but I thought it might be worth it because I want some kind of video proof. If we ever get big, this is why we get big. Like I legitimately am like, you know what? This might work. So, Scott, I would like you to speak on this if you don't mind.
All right. So, yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we recorded an episode, went into work the next day. I'm a supervisor for an e-commerce company. I have a team of about 14. So I go into work and, I was actually pretty jazzed about what we did. I was telling everybody like, yeah, last night, me and my buddies, we were busting some balls, recording some podcasts, having a good time. And so one of my employees, she asked me, it's like, oh, what's the name of the podcast? And so I tell her, I'm like, oh, it's Bud's Bustin' Balls. Had to give her a little bit of background of why it's called that. And she's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. So next day she goes up to me. He's like, yeah, so I Googled Bud's Bustin' Balls to try to find your podcast. And I wasn't really big on the results I got. I'm like, what do you mean? I got a bunch of gay porno results. Checks out. It makes a lot of sense. As proof, we even pulled out a screen cap of said Google search, and yep, that was definitely gay porn, all right. No judgment. It's a beautiful thing if you're into that, but
not that there's anything wrong with that.
That is not necessarily the direction we want to go with this, though. But there we go. So if you are one of these people who is looking for that type of thing, and now you ended up on our podcast, you will not be seeing any of that content. But I still highly encourage you to keep watching. You'll still be entertained. This was maybe a blessing in disguise for you.
2 out of 3 of the guys that are here right now are wearing tank tops. 1 visible, 1 invisible, and we're ready to take off the shirt and just go shirtless. So you may enjoy this podcast. Who knows?
Within the community, I believe I'm what is known as a bear.
And, can you be a bear if you self-proclaim that you're the bear?
You can say you're a bear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Matt, you know what? You're an otter. I thought Mike was an otter, but looking at the two of you right now, you're more otterish. So there you go.
And if you do you notice my beard is very shiny and luscious? Because it's being oiled and balmed and brushed with a special brush.
Is it being busted?
So, yeah, it's being busted.
Hardcore.
All right, cool. All right, so let's get to the actual topics here. So last week was all about money. Money. We were talking about $70 Nintendo games, specifically Tears of the Kingdom. We were talking about DLC, and we were even talking about that off the air before we started this recording, and how we all have our vices, our go-tos. So Scott, it's your turn now that Matt and I talked last week. It's your turn if you've got any topics that you want to touch on.
All right. To go kind of with my theme of having really bad opinions, I think it'd be kind of fun for us to talk about games or just one game that we have played that was universally loved, universally acclaimed, and we did not like it. And part of this is to trigger the rest of you guys of like, how could you not like that game? And then try your best to kind of make a defense of like why you did not think that game was good. So kind of like a little bit of a troll. Well, legitimately, a game you did not like, but at the same time, point of it is to try to go get a spirited debate on it. Sound good?
Sounds good. So
you got a game locked and loaded, don't you?
I did. I got the game down. It's not a game you guys would expect.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go for it.
Well, what about yours?
Oh, he wants to hold his.
We need to have.
All right, Matt, you go for it.
We need to go and know what options are on the
I
table.
actually have to think about this because I have a couple of bad opinions, I'm sure, but I have a lot of bad opinions. I just got to pick them out.
It's likely got to be a Nintendo game for me. I don't know. It's been a long time since I played a game that I was just like, wow, you all said this was great and this is bad. Probably Halo.
I got a good one. Halo, really?
I'm going with Halo. So when Halo first dropped on the original Xbox, everyone was like going gaga for it. And a lot of it was because I did not own an Xbox. So I was like, whatever. So I finally get the game. I play the campaign. I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool. And then they did Halo 2, and I was just like, okay, this is the same thing. And then they did 3. I'm like, okay, it's more of the same thing, just a little bigger, a little prettier, I guess, which is how video games work. But I guess what I found the most overrated was just the online for me. Like the core campaign was fine, but I thought the Halo Online was just so vastly overrated. I'm not just saying that because like I was a salty boy that was bad at it. Like I held my own. Like I wouldn't say I was like great at it, but I'd give myself like, I don't know, B- against anyone else that I used to play against. But everyone was just going gaga for this game. And I hate online games that just either take too long. There are so many maps. I'm like, this is annoying. This map is too big. Why do I have to be in this Warthog? Why do you have snipers? Why don't you have snipers and shotguns? And just everyone went gaga for this game on the online. I'm just like, this isn't fun. This isn't fun for me. And it makes sense that I definitely gravitated towards games that are online shooters, but different, at least in an aesthetic perspective, which is why I love TF2 so much, why I like Overwatch so much. I guess the more team-based stuff, but I definitely thought the Halo Online was just way overrated. Maybe a lot of that, just looking back retrospectively, it's been tarnished for me just because I knew a lot of tryhards that were really, really into it, which just like, this isn't fun. Why are we angry? That can we talk real quick? I can no longer play any game that has like split screen. I can't do it. We all think about like the old school games, like, you had your Mario Kart columns, you had your GoldenEye columns. I could not do that right now. If I was in a room and saw that, I'd just be like, nope, this is dumb. I don't want to do this anymore. But I think Halo Online is overrated. Not a fan.
This may not be that like I was expecting to get some spirited debate, but I'm on Team Matt on this one.
Oh, let's go.
I am too. I mean, so my question then is this: do you outright hate, like dislike Halo Online, or is it just kind of like like for wrestling, the worst case scenario, if you're a wrestler, the no reaction, right? Like, even if people hate you and they're like, oh, it's you again, you're getting some kind of reaction, as opposed to, okay, and then that's it. Is it kind of like that, or is it, I dislike Halo Online?
I dislike Halo Online. I just straight up dislike it. I tried it multiple times. I somehow acquired like Halo 3. I don't know how. Just someone must have brought it and left it at my house and just refused to ever pick it back up, if that tells you anything. So
that
I used to
me with Halo 4.
There you go.
I don't know where I got my 360
here's the
version.
thing. Halos are not made. They just pop into existence and you acquire them. That's how this works. But I played a decent amount of Halo 3 online, and I'm just like, this is so not fun. Can we play something else? So I disliked Halo. The only time I really actually enjoyed it was I was working for a church at the time, and we bought like 4 Xbox 360s and put it all in a room with these TVs. And so all the kids were playing Halo, and I'd show up like, oh, Halo. And I went from like, man, I don't really like this, but whatever. I'll be a good youth person and hang out with the kids. And then I destroyed them. I just murdered these children. Just straight up murder these children. And I kind of put the game down. I'm like, this Halo game might not be half bad. That was the only time I liked it, because I could destroy children at a video game.
See, what you should have done is you should have tried to like tie that into Bible lessons. Like, here's a reenactment of Goliath destroying the Israeli army before David approached, and you guys are and it's just kind of.
Or you could have been real, super real, and been like, "This is life.
Mm-hmm.
This is what life is going to be like. You can react by being a pity party, or God's got your back, and you're like, it's okay. I'm going to take it. Are you going to take my dominance?"
So, if we're going to get biblical with Halo, would Master Chief be Jesus, or would he be an apostle?
He'd be Paul. He'd be Paul. Dude, Paul was the great. He always graded on people. He was ready to just like piss people off. Like that was him. That's Master Chief.
There we go. All right, guys, you've heard it here first. Master Chief is not Jesus. He is the Apostle Paul.
Confirmed here. All right.
The Master Paul.
All right.
Apostle Chief.
Not that I don't love talking blasphemy or anything, but one interesting thing I want to clarify, because I keep hearing you say you're not for Halo Online. What are your thoughts on the Halo single player story? Don't care for it. Never played it. Like, because that's something that disclaimer, I've only played 2 Halo games because I got them both for free. I played Halo Reach, which I actually really, really enjoyed its single player campaign. And then Halo Anniversary, which I did not enjoy the single player for. So what are kind of your thoughts on that?
I remember distinctly playing the campaigns of Halo 1, 2, 3, and ODST, which I actually liked ODST just because of what it was. It's like, hey, you're not a murdering Apostle Paul. You are a grunt in the Halo universe.
Self-defense, not murdering. I'm just
all right. Self-defense. Yeah. Just pretend everyone's the Romans and
right to bear warthogs.
Oh yeah, that's like the 69th Amendment, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's my favorite amendment. Nice, it's
the best one.
I remember like at the time enjoying the campaign, mainly because I never had an Xbox. So one of my friends was like, Matt, here's my Xbox, here's Halo, go home and play it. I was like, okay, cool. So I did that during like a summer break or something. I don't remember when, but I just sat down and beat like all the games and like the first 2 games in like 2-3 days. I just blasted right through it. And those were actually kind of fun just because I had nothing else to do. As an adult, would I want to sit down and play that game? No, probably not. But at the time when I think it was in high school, I did enjoy like being able to borrow that and play it. So to answer your question, I did enjoy the campaigns, but not enough to ever replay them. So the campaign, I guess, you're okay, but the online multiplayer I just thought was vastly overrated.
And it's interesting because like I played a little bit of the campaigns back in the day. I was never a Halo guy. I always kind of bashed on it. I was like, they're boring, they're whatever. And I actually agree with you on the online. I recently, thanks to Game Pass and Series X, and they updated them all because of the anniversary collection. I recently replayed, or I played through 1, 2, and 3. I'm on 4. Um, and actually, one of them I played through a large chunk of it with my oldest son, and that was actually a blast. And I kind of appreciate the story. I think it's oversold, like kind of like what you were saying. Like I think it's overhyped. I don't think it's bad. I think it's very good. It's a very good game. But I agree with you 100% on the online. I want to. I was gonna try to play devil's advocate. I can't. I can't do it. It's just. It's boring. It's boring.
All right. I think that's a good lead into Mike's pick.
All right. So Scott, I know that you've never played this. This was a game that when it first came out, I originally really, really enjoyed it, but it was marred by another game, and that should have been my first red flag. And the game that throttled it was Breath of the Wild.
Horizon. You're going for Horizon.
And
Yep.
I know this will piss people off. I know it will. I do not think I've never played the second. I don't have any desire to play the second, so I can't speak on the second. I think Horizon Zero Dawn is mediocre at best.
Ooh.
The DLC, they had this DLC because I got the DLC for like $4 or $5 one. I was like, yeah.
I was already to say, I love how you said the game was mediocre, but like, I'll still buy the DLC.
Well, I got the DLC when I still kind of liked it, and then I just I played it afterwards. So I got the DLC when I still kind of liked it, and it had some really cool animal robots. Actually, like there was this bear rope. It's badass. It's super cool. But I played it for a week before Breath of the Wild came out, and then Breath of the Wild took the next 6 months of my life. Like that was the only game that I played. And then I came back to Horizon, and all I could do originally was, why can't I climb this? Why can't I go there? Why can't I do this? Why can't I jump up there? Why can't I do... This is dumb. And it frustrated me, and so I got past that, and then I was like, yeah, this is a good game. And then I replayed it before Forbidden West was coming out. That was like, last year or something like that?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I remember really liking this. Forbidden West looks really cool. It looks nice and colorful and vibrant, and I like robot dinosaurs. That's cool. And I replayed through Horizon Zero Dawn, just a playthrough, not trying to get trophies because I either platinumed or got damn close to platinum that game and the DLC. So I played it a lot, and I played through it, and at the end, I pre-ordered Forbidden West. So I was going to pay the full $70 for it, that whole conversation. I played through Zero Dawn, and I canceled my pre-order, and I never got it. I still have not played it to this day.
I'm curious.
I think it's a bad game. I think there's cool parts to it. I don't think it's that great.
What is it, the story? Is it the gameplay? Like level design? What about it? Like, obviously, because like you said, at first you really liked it. What was it that kind of did not age well, even in only like a 2-year time span?
And to add to that real quick, specifically for me, what point during your second playthrough made you go, absolutely not, no Forbidden West?
And I can actually answer these, and this is why this game just popped up in my mind for this. I was like, I'm gonna have trouble finding one. So I think let's start with what originally brought me into the game. What brought me in was the aesthetics. Visually, it is visually pleasing. Okay, it is wonderful to look at. So I'm gonna give it that. Okay, that part is awesome. Nice colors. There's variation, and robot dinosaurs are just so cool. Like, it's just a cool concept, okay? That's where it ends. And I think I was so, like I still am a PS4 homer. I really, really, the PS4 was a beast of a system. I
Yeah.
like my PS5, but it's no PS4. I'm gonna be
Give
real
it
honest.
time.
It's no PS4. I mean, maybe in time, but it already feels like they're trying to move on and do a mid. We're already almost 3 years into the PS5. By this time, the PS4 was firing on all 12 cylinders. Like, it was just flying. It was crazy. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. So the story doesn't get good until like 3/4 of the way through. So like when I replayed again, I was like, I don't remember this being such a slog. I remember this cool story about like all this other stuff happening. Oh, she could be. That doesn't happen until like 3/4 of the way through the game. So pacing's bad, real bad. It was carried originally because look at this cool thing and the aesthetics. So playing it again, I was like, ugh, no. So that's one thing. The gameplay, the first 5 to 7-ish hours of the gameplay. Well, okay, 5 to 7 hours after your initial, like when you're a little kid, Aloy, which we're not going to discuss that because that
Was
part
rough.
that was not a good start to the game. Plus, she looked like a gremlin or something. It was unsettling.
I thought the same.
But after that, the first 5 to 7 hours of actual gameplay, like the combat and stuff, I was like, this is freaking cool. And then after, it drops hard. It's like super cool, and it was like, this is boring. I just did the same thing over and over and over. I tried other combinations. They were fine, but they were not as effective. It got boring real quick. And I know that'll piss people off too. They'll say, the combat's so great. I didn't think so. So that's the next thing. And probably the biggest factor of why I did not like it, it has open world syndrome.
There it is.
Now, granted,
That-
it's better than other open worlds like the Far Cries of the Earth, right? It's better than that. But it's definitely got open world syndrome, and I do not like open world syndrome. I have no tolerance for that anymore. I
Hard
don't.
saying. I guess that's why we're friends, because I do want to talk about the game a little bit, because I know Scott hasn't played it, but I did play and beat the game. And I'd say it was worth a play. I really do think that. It also helped that I literally got the game for $5.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
But it was a beautiful game. I was captivated by the story because it's a mix of like post-apocalypse and sci-fi, like all at the same time. And a lot of the stuff was just beautiful. The creatures were beautiful. Like you feel legitimately intimidated by some of the things that you're about to do. But then you hit the nail on the head, which is why I'm not that big on open world games, which is why I won't really dispute it. Other than I don't know if, just to be a little contrary, like I don't know if you could say the game is overrated, because I think it just existed. It did its thing. It did enough to get a sequel. I know it had a bunch of hype going into it, but once the reality hit, I think a lot of people were like, it's all right. It's fine. But definitely for you, overrated. I get it. But that open world syndrome hit so freaking hard in that game. That's why I hate open world games. Like this is like, here's a good example. Red Dead Redemption, the remake, the first one on like the 360 PS3, because that was actually was a sequel, because I had Red Dead Redemption, I think on PS2. I don't remember. Sorry, my cat's here. Meow. So Red Dead Redemption, I'm like, this is fun. I'm a cowboy. I'm shooting people. I'm robbing trains. This is neat. And then it's like, hey, go collect flowers. And I'm like, what? So I'm this BA cowboy riding on my steed collecting poppies. And so many open world games do that. And unfortunately, Horizon did that. And the quest that officially made me go like, I'm not playing this game again, was the two of them. One was like, hey, find all the things to get the super armor, which is like, this means nothing. This is irrelevant. And then two, it was the stupid hunting missions. We're like, hey, hunt things, but with all these fun little modifiers. I'm like, no, those modifiers sucked. That I was like, I'm going to 100% this game, which I don't always do, because this is great. And then I hit those hunting missions. I'm like, this is dumb. I don't want to do this. So I just skipped it. And then I found out, and this is a big thing with open world games because I like to do mostly everything I can before I finish a game. So by the time you get to the end game, you're just death incarnate. So I found a broken thing, which was like, okay, if I lay all these trip vines that I've put 3 damage boosts on, and I just lay them everywhere, I can just stand there. And every creature, small or large, just goes into the trip mines and dies. I was like, oh, all right, cool. I guess I'm great at this game. So anywho, I wanted to talk about that game because you triggered a few things in me. But I definitely get it. It also suffered bad timing. And we talked about this offline, and I think on a previous discussion as well, that Horizon suffered from coming out when Breath of the Wild did.
Like really, like, and what's funny is Forbidden West also suffered by coming out within weeks of Elden Ring, which a lot of people compared Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild to each other. And right or wrong, they both compared them, and I was like, that's so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I'm sorry, Scott. You probably got some thoughts on Horizon, even though you haven't played it, I'm sure.
I have very strong thoughts on a game I haven't played.
Yeah.
No, basically, it's just like dinosaurs, they're robots. Like, how can you mess that concept up? That's like, apparently you can, but it almost writes itself. Very disappointed to go and hear how, underwhelming the game was, because I was considering playing it one day. But you know what? I don't think so anymore. Rejection, denied, it ain't happening. Get out of here, buddy.
This is how bad it is. This entire time I was listening to Matt talk, and I was trying to pull up, because like the thing is that I am bagging on the game, and I damn near platinumed it. That's how many I think my first round on the PS4, it was on the PS4. My first round, it was like 76 hours, and then I added on top of that. So like, I have played that game a lot. So if anybody's listening and they're just fuming right now, he just didn't play it, he didn't do it right. I played that game a lot. And I'm a trophy addict. And it's not, I will venture to say it's not good. So yeah. So now I want to hear Scott. I want to hear what Scott has to say.
It's been cooking.
It has been cooking. And I've been wondering if I was going to go to do the one to trigger Mike, or do like legitimately the one I really want to do.
Both.
Should I do both? Okay.
Which one are you starting with? Well, I guess we'll find out which one you're starting with right now.
I'm going to trigger you, Mike. It's going to be Metroid Prime. And I waited until he took a sip.
He's holding it. He is holding the remake physically right now.
You piece of shit. You better watch your mouth. You better choose your words wisely, boy.
This is the content that I'm craving.
Listen, we can bust balls, but you do not bust those balls.
Oh,
everything you say, you have to say to this right now.
All right. I can do. Granted that I have not played this game in like, how old is the game at this point? 20 years?
It's not that
About?
Yeah, I think it was 2000 and hold on, 2004.
Jeez,
it's old, man. It's old.
Before I get into it, I just want to make a couple things clear. The game was pretty for its time. It was beautiful. The game played well. It was a very, tight game. I did not care for it at all. And I think the reason why is there was no emotional connection at all to the game.
2002.
2002? 21 years. Wow.
I feel so old.
Wow.
Ooh,
I bet
that
it
one
aged
stung.
well,
that game is old enough to drink now.
I will tell you it has aged well, but let's let Scott continue to trigger me.
There we go. Like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's like no NPCs in that game, or at least very few. There is like, I think as far as I can remember, the story was basically like, hey, you're on a planet. Try to get off the planet. Or try to fix your ship so you can get off the planet. No, Mike's shaking his head no.
You continue. That's wrong, but you continue.
There was no emotional connection in that game as far as I can remember. There was nothing that made me want to say like, oh, I really hope Samus gets out of this alive. I didn't care. It's like, all right, you know what? I just want to kill this enemy because I'm supposed to kill this enemy, and I want to beat this game just so I can say I can beat the game. I didn't really care if Samus lived or died. I didn't really care about. There was no stakes at all in the game for me. It just didn't make a good connection. So I think the polar opposite for me game-wise would be God of War Ragnarok. So I know we spend a lot of time praising that game, and rightfully so, because I was even talking about today with one of my employees who's playing through it right now. And that game, like literally every single character you can invest in. Yes, some of them are pieces of shit, and you hope they die. At the very least, there's not like a single character. It's like, this guy is such a waste of space. Like,
Mike's hoping you die right now.
Yes, he is hoping I die. He's like, Sky, you are that worthless character that I hate. This guy. But like that game, tight gameplay, like fantastic graphics, but I think the most lasting thing on there was the connection to the characters and the story that legitimately moved you. Now, come on, Mike. Come on. Just be honest. Did anything about Metroid Prime move you? Did anything give you any type of emotional?
1,000,000%. So a little bit of background. You guys know this.
X4 doubt.
I went into that game knowing nothing. I had never even played a Metroid game before. Okay, I knew nothing about Metroid. I thought the only thing I knew about Metroid, I thought Metroid was
Samus.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we lost Scott's video. You still there, Scott? Did you die? Are you just hiding from us?
I did want to go quickly grab a drink, but
okay, you go do that. You go do that.
So thanks. Now I'm going to.
Well, no, I want you to hear my rebuttal.
Mike, are you okay with me getting a drink?
Yeah, go get your drink.
Do you care what type of drink I'm getting?
I bet it's kombucha.
No, I don't care what kind of drink you're getting.
You sure?
I mean, you could be drinking pee for all I care. I'm not drinking it.
It's the hater.
It's not going. Yeah, it's not going in my mouth. So what does it matter?
All right. Do your angry lead in? I'm finally going to get my drink.
Okay. So I knew nothing about that game. Okay. I didn't even own a GameCube. I owned a PS2. I was not a Nintendo fan at this point in time in my life. I'd kind of moved on, like everybody else did, to PlayStation. I didn't get an N64. That's a story that I actually discussed in an earlier episode of my podcast. But I became a PlayStation guy, okay? And I didn't have a GameCube, and one day I had loved my PS2. And one day I was like, you know what? I kind of want to get a GameCube because Wind Waker looks kind of cool. I knew nothing about Wind Waker. That's like, it looks kind of cool, and I can get it cheap. I was at this was when it was called, I think it was called EB Games. It's GameStop now. Some places it still is EB Games.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. And this was when I was in Humboldt, so like had to drive all the way there and go get it. And so they had a black GameCube controller. I still have them to this day. They're sitting right out there, and it runs. And I picked up 2 games that were used and super cheap. And that was Zelda Wind Waker, which, what a delightful surprise that was.
Phenomenal.
Yes. And Metroid Prime, knowing nothing. It was literally this cover. It just looked cool to me. Sci-fi, right? Like, damn, she got a gun on her arm. That's cool. I didn't even know it was a girl at the time. I was like, that dude got a gun on his arm.
I would like a gun that shoots girls, please. That sounds fun.
A girl gun.
Girl gun.
I think there is a game like that. Anyway.
Oh, never mind. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. It's a weeb game. A not good weeb game. So anyway, I picked it up. I went in not knowing anything about it, okay? So I had no expectations whatsoever. And I went in, and let me ask you this, because this is the only game I know that you've played from this studio. Did you like Elden Ring? Not gameplay wise. I'm talking about all the other stuff.
No, Elden Ring was a great game. It was a great experience. I love the open world. Eventually I learned to love the gameplay. I did not care at all for the story. I mean, you can call me dumb, but even now, ask me what the story was about. I was like, I don't know. I just went around killing shit, man. And there you go.
So this will probably piss a lot of other people off. I liken Metroid Prime storytelling very similar to Dark Souls games, Bloodborne. Those games, Sekiro is a bit different. That was actually like there was more story in that one. Elden Ring, things like that, right? Where a lot of the story you uncover it and you kind of fold it back like, okay, I'm standing in front of this giant freaking castle. It is in disrepair. They've got weird gargoyle things all over. There are these weird ass knights that just want to kill me for some reason. Why? And like you see all these little things, these little hints, the subtle details, all of these things in this world. It's a world building game. It's a world building story, right? Whereas Ragnarok is not, I mean, yes, there's world building. That is not a world building story. That is a character driven story. Persona 5 is a character driven story. The story in Persona 5, I will tell you, it's not great. It's this, and this, and that's kind of it. And then until there's a couple little twists here and there. Story-wise, doesn't even compare to a game like Ragnarok. But it's the characters, the interactions, how they work with each other. Same thing with Ragnarok. Seeing the evolutions of certain characters, you probably are thinking of the same characters I'm thinking of right now, specifically one who is of a short stature. This just like the turns that happen, right? Metroid Prime, you cannot compare because it doesn't tell a story with characters. It tells the story of a badass galactic bounty hunter stuck on a planet, uncovering what happened to this planet and realizing I'm connected to this planet somehow. How did I end up here? And then it goes from there.
There you go. You got to have your piece. You got to go and put me in my place. Me, I'm a character-driven guy. I don't like working for my story. I'm a lazy person. Like, hit me over the head with the story. Get me into it. I'm the fish. Catch me with the hook. Reel me in. I'm not going to be the fish who's going out and trying to jump into the fisherman's boat. So, teach their own. So how about this? I'm going to do a little bit of a less controversial one for you, though. And this was probably going to be my real choice. I just went with Metroid Prime to kind of trigger you a bit. A game, it is incredibly influential. It has had such a massive impact on video games at its time, and I hated it. I hated it so much. Splinter Cell.
I never played that game, but from the moment I read about it,
You'd
I
hate it.
thought this looks awful.
You would absolutely hate those games.
I hate stealth in almost any game because it's done so poorly. And again, I haven't played that game, but it was just never fun for me. The only time I semi-enjoyed any form of stealth were the Arkham games because they added a lot of cool stuff and your Batman just beating the crap out of people. But even then, like if I hit like a part where it's like, oh, time to sneak around, I'm like, just let me punch him. Just let me punch him in the face. That's my gaming strategy. Like I will hit you so hard you don't get up, and I'm going to go hit the next guy. That's how Matt plays games.
Quick little fun, folksy story of Scott how he did get that game. Game comes out, everybody's raving about it. All the video game magazines, and yes, there were magazines at the time. I'm a very old man at this point.
I actually know what magazines you're talking about because they pitted it against Metal Gear Solid, and I never played the original Splinter Cell. Because I was a Metal Gear Solid guy. I was like, screw that
10
game.
10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 across the board. And me being little Scott, it's just like, you know what? If this magazine says it's a great game, I'm going to buy it. So I go to Walmart with my mom. Yes, with my mom. I was 15 years old at the time.
There's no shame in mommy buying you a mature video game.
So that's where the funny part comes in. Go get the game. And the funny thing is I rat myself out. Like, my mom didn't even care. And I just like, Mom, just so you know, this is a rated mature game. Oh, let's call your dad and see if it's okay. My dad on the cell phone. And at the time, having a cell phone was a big deal. So talked to my dad, and I explained to him, like, oh, Dad, I want to buy a rated mature game. Well, what do you do in the game? Why is it mature? You kill terrorists. Is it a 2-player game? Maybe. You can buy it. And it's just like, the only good thing that came from that game was my dad making me laugh and giving me that good story to think back on. But,
was your dad alluding to like, son, you and I are going to kill terrorists together? Like, was that what he was trying to do?
Yes. And it was a certain point of time in the U.S.'s history where we were in a certain part of the world and the word terrorist was very trendy and, USA. So, yes, good times back then. Anyhow, Splinter Cell, though, and I'm sure it wasn't the first game to do it, but I feel like it was the game that really made it popular and something that I absolutely hate. And if I know a game does this, I will not even play it. the good old one hit and you're dead gameplay. And if that is your cup of tea, I'm not even going to say, well, more power to you, or, I respect your choice. You just have bad taste in games. I'm just
man.
You are a masochist. You are like, you must be the guy who says like you enjoy doing math or going to the dentist is a good time for you. Like, I don't even know if I can really debate with you, because we're just on different planes right now. Like, that's all.
Scott is built different, is
yes.
what I'm hearing.
I play games because I like being shot 20 times and hiding behind a wall until all these bullets disappear and my health returns and I can go back out and get shot another 20 times.
Hey, what's stopping you from just getting shot 20 times in real life, coward?
That's the thing. If I wanted to go out and experience getting shot once and dying, I'd rob a bank. Like
you heard it here, folks.
I don't want realism in my games. I want my games that I can die and then people can go and to my corpse and hit the A button and revive me and I can keep going, man. That's not the type of game Splinter Cell is. Unforgivable. And that's Scott's hot take. Splinter Cell, hot garbage.
Oh, snap.
I will say, I agree. I didn't play the first one, but I will say that I did play a couple of the other ones, later ones, and I'm glad that I was a Metal Gear Solid guy, because whereas Metal Gear Solid was very stealth-oriented, and especially Metal Gear Solid 5, the gameplay really opened up big time. I have other problems with that game. But Splinter Cell, the problem with Splinter Cell was that you had to do it one way. And if you did not do it that one way, you died. So it was linear and slow because of the sneaking. Whereas like with Metal Gear Solid, you could improv. You'd be like, I'm going to get this guy. And then somebody would come around the corner and be like, what? And the little explanation point would come up. And you'd be like, oh, damn. And then just like run and try to, like, you could improvise. Splinter Cell, you could not. You were found. It was like, put the controller down, kill me. I got to start at the checkpoint. It's bad.
I do want to say, I find it so funny that Metal Gear noise, the boop with the exclamation
point. You knew
point.
Exactly. You both heard it in your head.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What amuses me about that is at one point, a cell phone company commandeered that sound effect and made it part of their regular sound effect. So I was just chilling at school one day and I heard it. I'm like, someone playing Metal Gear in here? And it was just a text alert. And I was talking to them about it. They're like, what's Metal Gear? I'm like, can they do that? Can they take that noise? That noise was so universally like accepted and used in so many things.
Yes.
That is Metal Gear's greatest contribution to society, is that sound effect.
I think it's right up there with like the Zelda sound when you open a chest. Like, I can't even like replicate it, but you know what sound I'm talking about.
Anyone that listens to this is like, yes,
we know.
We got it.
Those iconic video game sounds.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to actually talk about that. So you brought up the exclamation point being influential, like in these other sounds. Hideo Kojima, it is amazing how his games like influenced or predicted future stuff. Like Metal Gear Solid 2 predicted memes coming, like the memes that we know and love today, that kind of stuff. We got the exclamation point being used everywhere in Hijacked. Death Stranding was well in development before the pandemic hit, and all this separation and everybody was afraid to go outside, and delivery people were the gods walking amongst the earth, among the earth, us people, delivery men and women out there. And also in the game, there was an exoskeleton that you get that goes along your legs to help you carry a giant freaking stack of boxes, and it looks ridiculous. And then it, like in China and other places, that was a thing. It was a thing that happened.
I think we need to mention the most important thing the game has done, though, and that has caused a lifelong distrust of random boxes and places you don't think boxes should
be. Yes! Oh, man. Anyway, I like how all of our topics on your topic, Scott, we all agreed with each other, except for Metroid Prime, because you're clearly wrong.
I had to stir the pot with something.
So I haven't spoken to Metroid Prime. The only Metroid Prime that I actually owned and played was Metroid Prime 3 on the Wii. That was the only one I ever played. And I will say I liked being able to aim as Samus. It was really cool. Like I had fun with that. But like most Metroid games and Metroidvania games, I got tired of it because I hate freaking backtracking. I hate seeing like, hey, here's the thing. I guess I'll come back here in 20 hours, maybe. Not my thing, not my jam. I will disagree with Scott that I think that game is not overrated. While I never played it, I saw friends play it. I'm like, I see why people dig it. But so because now it's my turn to throw some salt. I want to say that these following games are overrated, even though I've never played most of them. You ready for this? Here we go.
Oh no.
Let's go rapid fire.
Mortal Kombat. Freaking hate Mortal Kombat. I
It is
hate
definitely
the
one of the
gameplay.
weaker fighter games.
That is one I played. It just feels so clunky and methodical in
Think
a
about that
bad
game.
way.
I think even like hardcore fighting game players will agree it is definitely not the best fighting game engine. The thing that got it big was the gore.
Exactly.
That was it. It was the gore. It was the goriest of them all, and that's how it made its name. Plus, it had a pretty badass theme song. I think we can all agree. Top tier. Top
The
tier.
movie's
right?
theme song.
Well,
Because
even
that wasn't in the game.
The game was like a pixelated version of it.
Yeah, you're right. It was yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're not talking about the movie. Movie is like God tier theme right there. Just not even for video games.
We don't even talk about that one. That is in its own stratosphere.
It is. It's in its own category, man. Anyway.
What amuses me about Mortal Kombat is a former boss, when Scott and I worked together, he said, like, hang on, I look like one of the characters. I forget his name. So
Sean Yu? No, not Sean Yu.
I don't remember who it was,
Big
but
Son.
he threw it out there and we're just like, what? And then he like made this face and like pointed and like mimicked him entirely, and you lost it because he looked like so much like him.
A little background on this guy. So the character in Mortal Kombat, his thing is he's an evil, like the evil boss of the game, and he takes people's souls. And if there's one person I had to compare my old boss to, would be him, because literally every day. At least the guy in Mortal Kombat was decent enough to just take your whole soul at once. My boss, no, he took little pieces of it over the course of like 2 years. So, yes, if anything, he is a far higher evil tier than the main bad guy in Mortal Kombat. Anyway, you make
it. That was a fun time in everyone's life. Another game, but I've played Mortal Kombat. I just think its mechanics in the game itself is overrated. I even played like their spinoff with like Injustice or the Mortal Kombat versus DC, whatever the heck it was.
It was Injustice.
I just hated that gameplay. It was terrible. A game that I've never played, but I think is vastly overrated. I think you're all going to agree with me, is freaking Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
I don't understand the appeal of that game. Like the game lives now because of the online element, because people can just do whatever they want with friends. Okay, cool. That's fine. The base game itself, I'm like, this is not fun. Like you like, not to like sound like early 2000s angry Christian mom, but like you basically just shoot people and pick up prostitutes and do drug deals. Like things of that in this open sandbox. It's just not fun.
Although I do agree with you on that one. I
Yeah.
did actually enjoy Grand Theft Auto 5 for what it was. It had some really funny moments. I wouldn't say it's a pinnacle of storytelling. It's definitely if I have never played it since, and I never will because of open world syndrome.
Yep.
But I do agree with you. So like I do kind of get the appeal. It is more than that, but you're also 100% right.
Yeah, and I think you hit the
Overrated.
nail on the head. Like I could see what it does really well, and I could, like Mike said, I could see why people like it. But that game, I want to say 4 is in the top 10 all-time selling video games of all time. And I don't really believe it deserves that.
Oh, that's 5. 5 still continues to sell to this day, and it's like
over 10
why?
years old, right?
Online element, though, you know.
But it is the
online
most
parts.
selling GTA game, I think. Like
Yeah,
ever.
and like one of the most selling games ever. It just keeps selling somehow, and I don't understand
the
why.
joke is like they're not even working on 6 because they just sell it on every new system, and people just keep buying it.
And they
but I
will.
think Grand Theft Auto is overrated. The next 2 games I have not played, but I think they're overrated. I'm only slightly salty about this one, Elden Ring. Talked about it a little bit. I think that game's overrated. I am very salty it beat out God of War Ragnarok at the Video Game Awards.
I am salty about that,
I'm
too.
salty about that too.
See,
I
we're
don't
in
agree with
agreement.
you, but I am salty about that 100
I will-
billion percent.
I think I played that game for 200 hours. And you know what? It was a good 200 hours. Yes, there was times I kind of like threw my controller and, I took a walk around the street and cool off a bit. But I look back at those 200 hours fondly. It was a fun game. Like I said, I don't know what I did in the story. I just went and killed people. They told me to kill a guy. I killed the guy. You didn't have to give me how to do it.
And what's funny is one of the reasons that I think that game is overrated, sans the God of War snub, is hearing you guys talk about it so much, because you guys were talking about it in our own Discord quite a bit. And I wasn't like annoyed with it, but I was like, all right, time for me to zone out because I have nothing to contribute here because I don't want to play the game. But everything you guys were talking about in the game, I'm like, that sounds not fun. That also sounds not fun. Wow, that sounds awful. Why would you want to do that? And then you started talking about like the quests and stuff you do. And I'm like, is literally every quest like my child got kidnapped, go find him. Oh, he joined the satanic cult and they eat grandmas. Cool.
No. There's only demon priest guys who kill people and wear their skin as clothing.
That's
totally not
better.
that
That's
bad.
fine. That's fine. This is the new America.
Not anywhere near as bad as what you said. Just wearing people's skin.
That's all. Just wearing skin of your enemies.
Well, they killed them first. If you kill them,
I mean, so they're at least nice about it. Like, sir,
It's
that
a
is
quick death.
that is a great forehead you have. I want it. I'm going to kill you first. Is that okay? Too bad.
And they were nice enough to give you the skin clothing as an actual outfit. So like you could pick it up and wear it around.
They don't need their skin anymore. They're dead. You kill me, you can take whatever body part you want of me and wear it around. I don't care. I'm dead.
Scott just gave us an invitation that once he died, we can do whatever we want to that corpse of his. So I'm going to keep that locked and loaded for future.
You can only wear my corpse. Yeah, I don't want you doing any weird, freaky stuff with it.
You got to put it in writing, man.
Can you do the weird, freaky stuff while wearing your corpse?
Ooh, there you go.
I have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, get back to me. You got go talk to your people.
Anybody who has not played Elden Ring, please disregard this. There are no skin people, skin costumes. Yeah.
Serious question. If you know a good lawyer that can help me draft a will that includes language about being able to wear my skin in it, let me know. I feel like that's not something I can approach to the typical.
Better call Saul.
Saul Goodman. Please follow through on this. You should take this to your legal department at your company. Like hypothetically, if one of my employees wanted to wear my skin after I died, what is the legal route we go here in this one? It's wonderful, beautiful. Hey, Elden Ring, I think it's overrated. I never played it. Just everything I heard about it. One last story on that one. I knew a lot of folks when I was working at a movie theater that played the game. Like, have you played this game? No, because they knew I was a pretty big gamer. And every single time they told me about this game, I asked them, I'm like, are there any stories that don't like include the super depressing, dark, everyone gets murdered, wear skin type thing? And they're like, and they all paused and had to think about it. And not one of them gave me a definitive answer. Like, yes, you saved the puppy. Everyone was happy. It just, everything was dark and morbid. And even though I know the gameplay is so well liked, it is a cool open world for folks, given riding horses looks OP and game breaking. It just seems way too depressing to be even remotely fun. Even if you don't know the story, I don't want to sit and like, hey, look, everyone's dead and dying all the time. That just doesn't seem fun to me.
Opposed to an uplifting game like Breath of the Wild, where you're literally playing in the post-apocalypse when the entire
and Zelda thought you were a weakling and was right that you couldn't stop the apocalypse, and so you're having to wake up to that too.
And but along the way, have been killed trying to help save the kingdom, and you are literally trying to go and free your captured souls, because that is so much more of a uplifting game.
But along
it's
the
colorful.
way, you meet like a painter that says, hey, find this, take a photo. Like there are quests like that actually start and end in some form of joy, where that game just seems overly depressing every single second of its entirety existence. So because of that, I think it's overrated. The last one, I'm going to piss both of you guys off. I've only played 2. I've only played the second one, and I hated every second of it. Metal Gear Solid. Freaking hated that. Maybe we can blame our friend Chris, who might listen to this. This is your fault, Chris. I was playing the game for the first time. I brought it over to their house. I'm like, hey, help me with this. I'm playing the game. What do I do? Because I was used to just running and gunning all the time. He's like, oh, do this, 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 this. I get through this long part, and I do exactly what he says. It detonated a bomb. It killed me. It set me all the way back. I'm like, 1, you're a dick. Thanks. 2, just the whole game that I played was just not fun.
Okay, so I'm going to have to be – I think you already kind of said it. Don't judge the game, judge the player. I love you, Chris, if you're listening. You are the absolute worst when it came to playing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. You are the worst. You ruined an amazing series for somebody. And that makes me so sad.
I've only played 2 Metal Gear games. I played 2 and 3. 2, I really enjoyed it at the time. I came back maybe 10 years ago when it came out on the Xbox.
Mike's soul is leaving his body right now.
I know. There we go. Now Mike's getting ready for his next rant. Replayed
He's
2.
just gonna go cry.
Replayed 2 like 10 years ago. I didn't enjoy it that much replaying it. On the other hand, Metal Gear Solid 3, one of the best games I've ever played. It was one of the best games I ever played when I first played it. When I replayed it 10 years ago, it was still one of the best games I ever played then. And you know what? If I played it today, it would probably still remain one of the best games I've ever played. And am I saying that 1 and 4 and Revengeance and whatever are bad? Not at all. I probably would very much enjoy them if I played them. I'm just saying, speaking from experience, I've only played 2 and 3. 2 did not age well. 3, all-time, like, gem of gaming. Especially the 5-minute ladder climb sequence. That is a masterclass in game crafting right there.
Okay, I'm not gonna rant because you already know. You already know. That's
push extra doubt.
Yeah, you already know. Okay. Instead, I'm going to appeal that at some point, maybe you can get a hold of these things. Maybe Konami will stop being cowards and release these collections on some kind of new platform, whether it's PS5, Xbox. I don't know. I feel like people would buy it on the Switch. I feel like there's enough people that own a Switch. 120 million plus
I know
people.
one guy that will buy a digital and physical copy.
Yes,
If that helps motivate you at all.
I would buy it for myself, and I would buy each of you a copy if they released a collection. And I would say this. Even for people who didn't like them, there are versions of all of those games where they actually improved later on. So Metal Gear Solid came out with the GameCube version, which was Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. Now, the cutscenes there's way more, but they are ridiculous in the good way of like, I don't know what I'm watching here, but I need to go get some popcorn because this is entertaining. And it incorporated newer mechanics. Metal Gear Solid 2 had, I always get these mixed up, but there was like a redone version of it where they kind of did some of the, like they redid some things, and it was like Substance or Subsistence.
It was the Xbox. It was the Xbox.
Right?
Word.
And they redid it, and it's actually, I think a lot of your issues were probably gameplay related, which I can understand. If you didn't play them at the time, and you're coming in after the fact, get it 100%. Metal Gear Solid 3, any version you play of that game is baller. So that's the good news about that. Metal Gear Solid 4, kind of like Twin Snakes, where it gets a little bit too heavy on the cutscenes, but they're so good. They're so good. And there's so many cool moments. Like, this won't spoil anything. There's a moment at the end where, like, you are playing the game, I say playing. You're just moving your character forward. And it's, like, so dramatic, and the music's kicking up, and you have a full screen seeing your character. And it cuts to part of the screen, and it does like a picture-in-picture of something else that's happening, and you're like, so you're still moving. If you stop moving, your character stops moving, and you can still lose, but you're moving while this, like, oh no, this battle's happening, and then another picture-in-picture happens, and it's like cycling through, and you're like, I'm still playing, what am I doing? And then it has cool moments like that. So I would recommend, if you ever get the chance, to try those alternate versions of 1, 2, any version you play of 3 is just the best. And what's unfortunate is Metal Gear Solid 5, gameplay, 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Everything else, big old wet fart. I hated that game. That was one of a few games I ever returned.
Immature Scott comment of the podcast. I like how you made that raspberry sound as Matt was raising his cat up to
I was, for anyone watching. This cat was getting underneath my mic, so I muted and just kind of lifted him like Simba. No, or what was his name? The monkey from Lion King was listening.
Rafiki.
Yeah. I couldn't remember his name for a second too.
And every time I lift up this cat because he's annoying, I do want to yeet him. I just want to send him flying into the abyss. But he's on my lap now, and he's cute and adorable, and he has a mustache, and I love him.
And he does not blow raspberries.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't blow raspberries. That was Mike. Or you can pretend my cat just ripped a juicy one into this microphone. Whatever you want, whatever makes you happy.
So to Mike's point, 100%. Well, to my understanding, Twin Snakes is never, ever, ever going to be re-released. That one is lost, and you'll never play it. And if you ever want to experience Metal Gear Solid 1, you'll have to go and
Good
stomach
thing,
playing the
good thing your
cringy
good friend Mike has a
PlayStation.
copy of it for his GameCube.
Good is a little bit. You're getting a little carried away, getting a little ahead of yourself.
Your friend Mike.
My acquaintance.
My
Ooh,
workplace.
can't even use the
Michael.
word friend.
Not even
Ooh.
workplace. Anyway, Metal Gear Solid 4. I was one of those very pathetic Xbox fans that like Konami's going to do a press conference. It's within 100 miles of Microsoft HQ. Metal Gear Solid 4 announcement incoming. I was one of those pathetic sorts that like every little grasping at every little straw, trying to hope that a port was coming to Xbox 360. Never did. And the sad thing now is I'm pretty sure it's not even available on PlayStation 5 unless you get like that subscription.
No, it's not even on the subscription, Scott.
That's it.
I have the subscription. I got it because I got it super cheap because it was like prorated or whatever. And I fully expected it, and I thought, you know what, this will make it worth it. I could play Metal Gear. I could finally own a version of Metal Gear Solid 4 and play it on my own instead of borrowing Farty Tim's PS3 and playing Metal Gear Solid 4. No, it's not even on there.
This is totally totally off topic, maybe a topic for some other day. But I do really think it's sad, which I think we can all agree here that video games, not all video games are art, but it can definitely, there are video games that are art, and it could be a medium right up there with visual, movies, television shows, music, well done. It can be considered definitely art. But at the same time, a song that came out like 60 years ago, 80 years ago, you can probably find it online fairly easy. Even if you can't find it online, you can find it on CD, and you could still, CD players are still widely available.
And you can buy it legitimately the right way, not go shady.
Same thing with movies, streaming services. If you can't find a streaming service, you can go still fairly easily probably buy the DVD online, play in a DVD player. Video games, there are so many video games that are basically lost to time that, like, unless you want to go and buy a very, questionable quality version of the console it came out on, 20 years ago and hope it still works and find a copy of the disc, there is no, legal way to play a lot of these games. Even then, some of them you can't even go and get by legal means. And I think that's kind of sad that that's one of the mediums of art that can very easily be lost to time, like Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes.
Future generations. So, like, in the future, when aliens find our remains in our civilization, they'd be like, they played these things called video games. And they only had one video game that we could really find that was on every console from the beginning of what we can see is their, beginning of their time, the culture of humanity.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
And that would be Skyrim.
Oh my gosh, it would be Skyrim.
And this guy named Todd Howard apparently ran video games. And like he created video games, and all video games were shaped after Skyrim. Because it was on every console ever made. Even things that weren't consoles.
Resident Evil 4 and Plants vs. Zombies apparently were also big deals.
Yeah. But they just followed in Skyrim's footsteps. See, like Skyrim was the original video game.
The first video game. Yeah. And that Mario Brothers just ripped them off. It was sad.
So sad.
So
Mario Brothers, Skyrim didn't need a sequel. How many Mario Brother games are there out at this point? Just saying. It was so good, it could have been able to just stick with Mario Brothers 1.
I wonder what the biggest reason is for old games not being released. And I'm wondering how much of it is just licensing at the time. And like whatever like dev teams are like connected to it. Like, hey, this studio owned it at this point, but we don't legally own the full rights to it. I wonder how much of that is like, we could get it, but it's just not worth the legal hassle.
Yeah. And that's kind of a time for Scott's upcoming stream plug. Why I'm very, very excited to go and play some of these old Sega Saturn games. Because literally that console had so many great, titles on there. Super awesome that are impossible to play now. Like literally you have to grab a Sega Saturn and play them to go and experience. Like you guys, I haven't even played it. Really excited to get a chance to play it when I get this up and running. I'm sure you guys have heard of the game Panzer Dragoon before.
Oh yeah.
Very iconic. Like you'll hear it's universally acclaimed from anybody who's played it. Guess what? It's impossible for you guys to play it unless you go and buy a Sega Saturn online and find the disc.
No, Panzer Dragoon had a remake.
You sure it did?
No, well, okay. Are you
PlayStation
thinking
1 had one, didn't it?
of are you talking about the RPG series? Because there's one that's like an on-rail shooter.
No, not that one. It's an RPG.
And I thought that was called Panzer Dragoon. I could be wrong.
No, I know the game you're thinking of, but it's a different game than.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Panzer Dragoon, just the one and done by Sega, first party, and universally acclaimed, and that's it for it. I could be wrong. I ain't gonna die on this hill. Back to the point though. All these great games: Bug, Gex, Clockwork Knight. It just has so many great games. And don't be confused. Gex did have a sequel for the N64. Hot garbage. Original Gex for the Sega Saturn. Top tier game. So anyway, end of my blog.
I wanna tell you here. Panzer Dragoon remake on Steam, released September 25th, 2020. And
it's starring LeBron James.
You can't really see it there, but it's the on-rail shooter. So I think you're thinking of, there was another one. There was another series that was the Panzer Dragoon-like thing. I think I know what you're talking about, but I think it was called something like Panzer Dragoon Chronicles or some. There was something else. I know what you're talking about.
There's an RPG for the Sega Saturn, and it's like basically like.
And it's hailed as one of the best, yes. And I always wanted to play it, and I've never played it, and I owned a Saturn.
Are you thinking of Nights into Dreams?
No,
Mike?
No, that was also a pretty big deal game on the Saturn.
Yeah, that was a big one too. Yep. No, but Panzer Dragoon was the on-rail shooter where you're literally riding a dragon, and you shoot. The one that he's talking about, I think it's called Panzer Dragoon Saga, or something like that. It's something.
Yeah.
It's the same like world, I guess. I have no idea. It looked cool, and I never played it, and people love it.
So there you go. Hold on to your consoles. And I know I'm not the best practicer of this because literally the only consoles I own now are my Sega Saturn, or not Sega Saturn. Well, yes, technically Sega Saturn once I repair it, but are my Switch, my PS5, and my Series X. Mike, you have the right idea. You hold on to those consoles because you know what? You can never take for granted that your favorite game will be part of the next generation. Backwards compatibility is a luxury, not a certainty. So do not go and lose those great childhood memories.
And to your credit, the Sega Saturn's the reason why I started doing that. I gave it away, and I realized I'm never getting it. I can't get that stuff back. I can't just go buy. I'll just get it if I ever want it again. Nah. And I learned my lesson real quick.
Whereas I don't miss any of my old consoles that I've gotten rid of.
You don't miss the GameCube?
No, not really, because the most fun I'd have with that's right, our fighting Nazis with GameCube throwback.
You know what? The president of Ukraine, he needs to stop asking for these fire jets, and he needs to stop asking for all these rockets. He needs to ask for the world supply of GameCubes, and that will go and win the war.
Exactly. It's what we talked about last time.
They're bulletproof, like they're an offensive item. You throw it at somebody, hit them in the head, that person's dead. I'm telling you right there. That person shoots you, that thing will take the bullet. It's defensive, offensive, recreational, good for exercising, gets you into shape, big, strong, buff soldiers. You know, there is nothing this console can't do.
I wonder if that GameCube, like all that space that it needed, how much of that was just like, bro, let's just make a really cool looking cube. Like, we don't need all this space. Let's just make it.
Probably was.
Like, just a little bit of like console in the middle of it, and just the whole rest of it is just like a case of concrete.
Yeah. That is some lasting hardware there, but I don't miss any of my old systems. Like, I grew up with the Sega Genesis. I had a Game Boy. I had a 360, PS1, 2, 3, I think I said Xbox 360 already. There's other stuff I'm forgetting. I had a Wii. I had a Wii U. I don't have any of them because I don't know. I don't care that much. I guess I just don't replay a lot of old games. I just don't have the patience for it. And maybe that's where I differ from you guys is like, hey, you know what your favorite game as a kid growing up was on the Sega Genesis? It was Vector Man. Would you play it now? No, I don't want to. Sonic? Nah, don't want to. I'm good.
Yeah, and I still play those. Yep. That's the difference.
Vector Man was my jam. Like, I would definitely play a remake of certain select games that I don't have access to anymore, like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. That's where I'll eat some crows. Like, yeah, I kind of wish I could play that again. That game was phenomenal.
Opposed to me, like the very first video game I ever played is still one of my top 5 favorite games of all time, and I still play it once a year, and I enjoy it immensely. Mega Man X. So
okay, yeah,
but
that was a good one. That was one of my first games I ever played on a PC. Like my dad like downloaded it, and I was playing Mega Man X on a PC. We had a little controller connected to our computer, and that's where I played it. Like I didn't play it on the Super Nintendo. I played it on a computer. It was weird at the time.
Well, we're kind of already talking about this, so instead of me doing my topic, let's talk about let's just jump. Let's like fully dive into this game preservation business versus like, do we really care, right? Do people really care? So like, I think it was Jim Ryan, the guy that's running Sony PlayStation Studios stuff. I think it was him, but he basically had said something along the lines before they released their oh, look at our cool catalog of old games we're doing.
I love that impression.
Yeah, because that's how he
just
talks.
need to rub your hands while you said it to kind of.
And I need a mustache like Matt, so I could be like, yes.
See, this is actually how we appeal to that bear demo that we're going to draw in with the podcast name. Is I got
it's
the
all of our
mustache
facial
thing.
hair. That's really what it is.
Yeah, Scott's the one that started the show with his armpits there, kind of flexion, advertising that he is indeed the bear. I got the mustache, and
this is me showing them off, not trying to go and swat any smell from them because
it looks like you're trying to share with the class
yes.
Your armpit hair, and I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. But anywho, I'm here to get that bear demo. I think it's an untapped demo.
You are the otter. Go for the otter demo. How many times do we have to tell you this?
I don't know what an otter is, and I'm afraid to ask at this point.
You should Google it, Matt.
I don't want to. I don't want to. That sounds terrible. Like if you sent your coworkers, without getting HR on your case, by the way, looking at gay porn and showing you in the workplace, I am not going down that rabbit hole, sir. I'm not going down that bear hole.
Listeners, viewers, this is how you make. This is a conversation starter. Say, hey, you guys should watch Bud's Bustin' Balls.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they come back to you and be like, what kind of stuff are you watching? Then you play this podcast and they'll be like, oh, okay, I guess I should go. That's okay. I'll go listen to that. Sure. And that's how we're going to get big. I'm telling you.
But there's going to be that one guy who's just going to watch all the way through and he's going to go and ask like, they never took off their shirts. When was this happening?
But see, you got to tease them. Like maybe in a future episode. Maybe if we get big enough and we know that our demographic.
Oh no, Scott's rubbing his nipples. Podcast is over, everybody. It's gone. You know what this reminds me of? Years ago, I think it was in early high school. There was like a random video game article, and I think it was Scott. You pointed out, like, Matt, do you know what this website is? I'm like, what? No, click on the homepage. So I click on the homepage, and it was a gaming website for gay gamers. It was advertised as that, and their catchphrase was for boys who like boys with joysticks or something like that. It was
for boys who love joysticks.
That was it.
Honest. I wasn't. That was it. At the time, it wasn't even like, ooh, look at this website. It's weird. I thought it was great. I was like, this is $1 million catchphrase. I still love that catchphrase. And you know what?
I was gonna say there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, catchphrase. Like I love it. I'm a straight male, and I think that catchphrase is a genius catchphrase.
It's brilliant. I don't know if that gaming website exists, but if anyone doesn't have that tagline, they should go get it because that is incredible.
Anyway, that game preservation. I don't even know how we got onto that. Game preservation. So much like those old the old magazines and stuff, right? Like, okay. Emulation. I hear that word and my immediate reaction to it is, dude, don't be a douche. Don't be a douche. And I don't think that's right. Like, to an extent, I think that's right. But also, we've kind of just been like dancing all around the issue, right? It would be different if, I would say Nintendo's the biggest offender here, okay? As much as I love Nintendo, screw those guys when it comes to this stuff. They're wrong.
You heard it.
100% they're wrong.
Mike is very impartial. He will Nintendo buy your game twice if you deserve it, but he will also call you out on your crap.
100%.
I respect it, Bauer Tendo.
That's any of these companies. I'll call a spade a spade. I do have my preferences. I'm very open about those preferences.
Nintendo, keep it up, and he's going to become Bauer soft. All right.
Yeah, Bauer Station.
Bauer Station.
Ooh, I
Bauer
really
Bottom.
Bauer Station. Oh gosh.
Please, it has to change.
Come.
That has to be the new name.
Anyway, so yeah, it's just like you have this giant, like, I understand the Golden Eyes, right? Where it's like, I understand there's so much more on the back end, but you, Nintendo, you have a whole plethora. You have the best back catalog of any of these companies. I don't get, like, you can hate Nintendo and still recognize you have the biggest, most vast backlog, what you have. Bro, bring that up. You have Nintendo Switch Online. You put it all on there. Everybody will buy the subscription for it. Because that's a whole hell of a lot cheaper than trying to go. And the cool thing with that is, then all these scalpers and these people, the whole retro scene, they're like, yeah, new Super Mario Brothers, that's going to be like $5,000. That goes down. So that for those people that don't want to do NSO, they can actually buy the cartridge if they really want to. Instead of $5,000, like thousands of dollars.
I did really appreciate your butthead impression for that video game salesman.
I was about to say that I've learned what was it crack addict sound like or something, Scott? They go, that's how you opened it earlier, and now I know what people selling old school video games sound like. I'm learning so much today.
Any of the retro scene, trust me, you'll go there and then you're looking for the good stuff. So like, okay, so
wonderful.
What is the answer then? So like, what is your guys' take on? So like, do we just reissue these games again on, like, create a cartridge for them for each individual game?
If they want to make
put them
money,
all together,
they definitely could, because they did that with the mini NES and mini SNES. Given they missed a lot of games.
Okay, so do we do a whole new form factor? So like, hey, Switch is where you get all of our new stuff. But if you want to play any of our back catalog, you buy an NES Mini, which they seem to have stopped. NES Mini, SNES Mini. They had a Sega. I think they had PlayStation one. I think they had Sega ones too, like Genesis. They don't have Saturn for whatever reason. But like, what is the answer for this game preservation? Because people emulate. That's why people that's the argument, which obviously there are people who abuse it.
The answer is transparency, at the very least for me, is like, but why? Like, why is this not even a discussion point? I know a lot of like game studios hold their stuff close to their chest, and I don't blame them, because as soon as the game gets announced, people are going to be chomping at the bit, making devs' lives miserable, both the executive side and the fan base side. But I would love to see some transparency. Like, hey, you have all these games, like, what's the status of it? So I would like some transparency, at least, like, why can't it happen? Because in some situations it makes sense, like we can't because of licensing. Case in point, I would love to see Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on every single system ever made. The reason they can't is Capcom doesn't have like the rights to distribute it that way anymore or something. I don't even know. But I found that out like 20 years after the fact. I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But then you go to companies where there really is no plausible excuse, like Nintendo. You own, as you mentioned earlier, you own everything. You own so many things. I would love just the reason why. I would love to know that, but I don't know who's the authority to answer it, because the gaming industry is massive. There's so many different moving parts. So you can't point like, hi, Mr. Nintendo, tell me why. That'd be cool if he existed. I would love to beat Mr. Nintendo.
Yeah, and like get my Paper Mario the uncle at Nintendo.
Yeah, he told me if you beat Super Smash Bros. On the 64 with Pikachu in 2 minutes, you unlock Raichu. You know, that guy. Very legitimate stuff that we definitely believed because we're idiots back in the day. But there are studios like EA that redid Dead Space, and they at least said, like, you know what, we can, so we will. I mean, they held it close to the chest because, again, you don't want to announce it too early. But for these well-loved games, like, most of us aren't even looking for a remaster. Just give it to us in a modern format. So to address the one question you brought up is how should they deliver it? The answer is very simple. You either make it a paid service for like, hey, here's our retro games. pay us $5, $10, $20 a month. And I guarantee, like, here's some money. And I also guarantee it's not going to be hard to put it on there. Our Nintendo will buy it physically somehow. He will go to Mr.
Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be at the door.
I just want to know why it is or is not happening. Like, I don't even need you to tell me you're making a game. Just hypothetically tell me, why am I not seeing Paper Mario 1000 your door? Is it because you're working on it? Why am I not just now able to play Mario and the Six Golden Coins on the Game Boy thing on the Switch that they just dropped, which is wonderful. That's my first Mario game I own. Great little game. That's what I want. That's my summary. Give me transparency. Why can't I have it? I want to know.
Yeah. For me, both of my options, totally not realistic. This is more wish list stuff, but I'm a firm believer that, you know, if something is not made available for you to purchase, you totally have the right to be able to go to the darker corners of the web and acquire it. It's like, if you're willing to, like, here, take my money. And they're like, no, we don't want your money. We ain't going to give you this thing. It's like, well, you know what? Fair game. So I think this is where it gets a little bit far-fetched. I feel like if a company doesn't want to go and make the thing available, they should go and post it online on PC for you to download. And I think that's one of the great things about PC gaming. From a guy who doesn't even PC game, that you can still play StarCraft, and you can go and still play all these old PC classics. Hell, I don't even know if you remember Chex Mix, that horrible Doom knockoff.
Oh, I remember that.
Yes, you can still play Chex Mix. And I think that says a lot about PC gaming. And again, is it realistic? Do I necessarily say I want to go and dump all my consoles and just play PCs? No. Do I think it's realistic that Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo are going to put all their first parties on PC? Not really, but I do feel like that is the most practical way to get around this. Now, probably even more impractical, and I'm going to be going off in a really weird random direction, but I'm going to bring it full circle. Just stick with me. So I'm not sure if you guys are into Lego and if you ever heard about Lego Ideas. Mm-hmm. Basically, Lego Ideas is people go and put together Lego sets and they post them online, and the Lego community votes on them. So for demonstration, somebody put together a concept for a Lego office set. It was Dunder Mifflin, the office building, in Lego form. They go to Lego Ideas. This is officially like sanctioned Lego thing. Got tons and tons of votes. All the office fans are like, this is amazing. We would love to have this. So then what Lego does is they go to NBC and they go and say, hey, we got all this interest in this Lego office set. How much money do we have to give you to go and license out the office so we can make this set a reality? And sometimes it's a set that, like, Lego has no interest in doing. It gets tons of votes, and they'll turn around and they will say, we are denying this because we don't think the content's appropriate or because of this reason. Sometimes Nintendo or Lego is all for it, goes to the right holder, and the right holders will not license it out. And they'll turn around and say, sorry, set's not coming out because of licensing issues. And sometimes in the case of like The Office or the Lord of the Rings set they're about ready to come out with, and all these super cool sets, they actually become a reality. And I would really love it if Nintendo is not off in their ivory tower, kind of not communicating at all with the fan base, and they actually give forms to their fans of like, hey, what games would you love to see remade? What games would you just love to see a port for to be added to Nintendo Switch Online instead of just adding random ass games and nobody has no interest in playing in Nintendo Online? You know, kind of more of like democratization of video games. Of what do the people want? What do our fans want? Because at the end of the day, we are the ones to keep them in business. And I feel like it would do the industry a lot of good, them telling us less what we want and us telling them what we want and them listening. And again, I don't think it's realistic to go and preserve every single game. And to be honest, if it's a really random old game from 20 years ago and it literally has only 5 fans out there, what's the point? It's literally not worth. If they want it to play it so much, then they can go and buy the old system it came out for. But for things like, you know, there's a whole bunch of people who would love to see a remake of Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is not even that widely available. You can get it for Android, you can get it for iPhone, but you can't go and get it for PlayStation or Switch or Xbox. And that's kind of a travesty. And I'm sure that if they gave people the option of that, they would see that, like, there is a good, 50,000 people out there that are willing to go and drop $10 instantly to give you that game. And I'm pretty sure that you would make a ton of money. Like, it won't take you all that much effort to port a game like that. And just give the people a choice, give them a voice. And help yourself. You're literally like printing money doing this. People are telling you what they're going to give you money for.
That's my big thing too, is that like you could literally print money. Like this, look, your hate or love for this game, playing this game, this is not, they call it a remaster. This is not the remasters that we have come to know. It's more. It's not a full-on big remake like Dead Space, but it is not just a, hey, we made it HDified. We remaster. It is the true meaning of remaster. They like redid it to an extent, and it's amazing to see. And go figure, so many people are like, yeah, I can't buy it. I can't buy the physics. I can't find it. It's gone. Everybody bought it. Go figure. It's almost like you have Metroid Prime fans.
I wonder if, and Scott, I do really like that. I think it would be awesome for the gaming industry. Like, hey, we know we have this catalog. Why not put it here so they at least know? But I do think a lot of it is just pride that they are like, hey, we've been successful, so we're going to keep doing it this way because we've been successful. But part of me wonders, like, Nintendo games do not depreciate in value very much. That's just, they're known for that. They just don't. And I wonder if some of that is due to just how selective they are with the releases of their games. And I can understand some games, I really can, but I think that this actually might be intrinsically part of their business models. Like, we have this whole thing and we will slowly, so very slowly spoon feed it to you and give us money. But the thing is, if the goal is to make money, then just give it to us now. But I think they are also having this old like family business approach where like, if we give it all now, we won't have anything later. So I wonder if there's like a conservative business model that like, hey, we have to like hoard all of this until 20 years from now when we re-release the re-release that we did last time we re-released it. I wonder if that's part of like someone in Japan, like headquarters, like, this is our business model. We've always done it. We're going to keep doing it. And if you find our games illegally and you like stream it on Twitch, we're coming for you. Given I don't know if they're still doing that. They used to crack down hard on streaming back in the day. And you remember this, Mike.
Yes.
Like when I used to stream like randomly like Wind Waker or Smash Bros., I used to sometimes get emails or something like, hey, this is a Nintendo game. You
Same thing on YouTube. Yep. Too bad.
And I'm like, screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. So I did, and they never did anything about it. But they're so backwards in so many things. And that does apply to a lot of other gaming companies. And I think less Nintendo, more other companies, it's all about licensing. But Nintendo, they just don't have an excuse for a lot of that content. It's just so weird to me.
Well, yeah, and you kind of mentioned too. You were talking, and I was thinking of the Disney Vault, where they would just be like, "Oh, we're just going to bring back this old thing for like 2 months."
Yeah, but the Disney Vault is Disney. Say what you want about Disney, they were very smart, where they could kind of go and tell, the times were changing. The vault needed to be cracked open, and all right, here it is now all on Disney Plus. And I don't know. It's kind of, part of me almost roots for Nintendo to fail, because then that's what it'll really take for them to go and start changing these things up. But as long as they still keep coming out with great games like Breath of the Wild, and we're all willing to pay our $70 for Tears of the Kingdom, they will know that they can forever kind of keep doing things their way, and they will never have to change. Because why do they have to? Because they will still, rake it in.
But I also think too, so like, we did exactly what I thought we would do, and I do this too. We're kind of combining two different aspects to this into one giant wad of bubblegum. There's game preservation for the pure aspect of, like Mario Brothers. We all know Mario Brothers. What about 200 years from now? 300 years? 400 years? Who's going to be like, hey, there was this old relic, right? It's like our parents had songs or events or like things that were like, oh, that was cool. Well, how did it get to that point, right? There was some kind of preservation along the way. They were just hindered by the actual, like, how do we preserve these things, right? Like, as we grow it in humanity, we learn of better ways to preserve different things. We're combining the consumerism part of things of, I want these available to me, and the literal 200, 300, 400 years from now, who's going to know what about Crash Bandicoot? People going to know Crash Bandicoot is? Who's bringing that forward? And right now, I think the problem, like, on one hand, I understand because it's their property, but on the other hand, it's like, kind of out there. It's these like the Sonys, the PlayStation, Microsoft's a little bit different. They're taking a much more progressive approach. But like the Sonys, the Nintendos that are like, oh, we have those files. Nobody else does. They ain't gonna go out there. Right. And I'm like, put them in a museum then. Right. So that we know, like, we look and we go, well, at least it's preserved over there. Regardless of if we can play it, that's another conversation, right? Of like, make them available. But because the consumerism part kind of goes back to when I brought up Jim Ryan at the very beginning. He said, people don't want to play old games. And guess 1/3 of this group that's talking tonight is part of that demographic. And you know who you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So these companies aren't looking at us necessarily. I think in some aspects they are, but they're looking at the next generations, the people who didn't grow up with Mario, the people who didn't grow up with this is going to make you feel old, the people who didn't grow up with Borderlands 2.
Oh, no.
Right?
No, that one stung. Hot dang. That one stung.
I could go ask my son, what's Borderlands? He'd be like, that's that game, that old game you play, right?
It's not a boomer game, damn it.
But see, they don't care. And that's the thing. Like, that's why the Switch succeeded. It went, look, we're going to get our idiot nostalgic people like this guy, and we're going to get a Zelda game. So they got me in. And they go, well, we know that the next generation wants open world. They want more freedom. So now we're going to bring in the Breath of the Wild aspect. And that's why it's a hit. Right? Whereas they look at the older games and they go, well, yeah, people want them, but not a lot of people. Just, this group wants it. Is that maybe part of the aspect here? And again, I kind of agree with Matt. I wish that they would just be transparent of, maybe Jim Ryan was right. We don't do this because we did do because they've done surveys. Nintendo has done surveys of, would you like to see this old game? And like, it was random games and random things, but they have done those before. They were more generalized. So like, is that part of it? And like, do we need to keep those two separate, the consumerism versus the pure, like, carry this forward in some fashion, please. Right? Because we appreciate them, and we would like future generations to appreciate them in some aspect.
Yeah, kind of like a Library of Congress, except for video games. Or if Library of Congress ever wanted to go open up a video game.
That would be, that's actually a really dope idea. I bet there's some groups that legitimately are pushing for stuff like that.
They are, yes. And that would be, I would pay money to go to a place like that, like be like, this is cool, like. So like, do we separate those two? Do we, like what we did, do we just kind of go and squish it all together? Because those are kind of two separate things, right? Like one of me, I want to play these versus, well, we kind of want to appreciate it. We want other people to appreciate these, my kids and their kids and so on, because of this thing that I love, this hobby, games that I love. And that's where the emulation comes into play. And that's where the argument is, we're emulating because they don't do that.
No matter what.
But is that 100% the truth?
It's not. No matter what, people are going to steal your game. Your big budget $70 game, they're going to steal it no matter what. But there are still a lot of people that would pay money for it. And I wonder if Nintendo just stopped caring about a lot of it, because there are like websites that you can go to play all these games. Like just websites. You just go in and go, boop, I'm playing Mario.
No, they go after them like hounds. So I think Sony does too, but Nintendo is like notoriously like, that's the problem. Like, what, to Scott's point of like, okay, here's money. Give us 2 and 3. I'll give you all the money. No. Okay, well, I'm going to go emulate it. No, you're not. We're going to go take it down.
Yeah, that's not right. That's like, yeah.
We tried. Why?
You need to go and give an avenue for people. Again, if you're not going to accept my money, then, you need to be okay with me going elsewhere to acquire it. And for you to kind of, it's like, no, we will not release it officially, and we'll not allow you to play unofficially. So it's like, well, I guess I'm just shit out of luck then. Basically, that's a dumb business position. It really is.
To put a pin in this, Scott, would you say that you are a booty pirate?
I do like plundering that booty.
Because you pirate the games?
I like that for that comment, Scott is probably looking at a screen of us or something. But when you asked him if he was a booty pirate, he paused and he stared at the camera deep, long, and hard. He wanted us to know his answer. He really needed us to know that. Bears, he needs you to watch this.
I need you, Bears.
He needs you.
Gotta have his backup.
You know what's really gonna get the Bears to like this is, I think, a rant, Mike. I think a rant is definitely what's gonna bring people to Scott's side.
So let's do our ending comments leading into the Scott Porta Potty rant that we have scheduled every episode so far. Matt, do you have any final comments you want to say? Any plugs? Anything else that you want to say? Anything goes.
Yeah, just as far as this top subject, which was fun to talk about. I really enjoyed the overrated game one because I wasn't because we didn't actually ask that question going into this. We just Scott threw it out there. I was like, ooh, so I kind of pondered that for a while. So that was really fun. I did enjoy Mike's face as Scott went after Metroid. That was hilarious to me. But anywho, hey, I want Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. That's what I want. And if you like my musings or my mustache, you can come see my Twitch channel, Celiac Matt. I'm Celiac_Matt on Twitch. You can come hang out and tell me how handsome I am. Be swell.
And I'm here to tell you that the older you get, the more you talk about poop.
Is that because you have kids or just in general?
I think in general.
Okay.
I just think in general, the older you get, you just focus more on that stuff because you just want it to work. I think all of us
you're like trying to will it into existence. Like you're sitting down, you're like, you're going to be a good one today, son.
Yep.
You're
I'm fortunate where I'm good, man. I'm good, but I know so many people who are not good. And
Kombucha, man. Why do you think I'm always plugging it? I'm literally giving you the answer.
He's plugging it because he's no longer being plugged.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a gamer, if you're an anti-gamer, if you're into art, books, whatever. We all get old. The older you get, you're going to talk about poop more. That's my comment of the episode. And you can come check me out. After having said that, nobody will show up. Twitch.tv/BauerTendo. And so you can check me out there. And I also have a YouTube channel, which you're watching on right now, which you should subscribe to. That'd be great. Right?
Yes.
All right. And without further ado, we're going to cue the music. We're going to cue the title for Scott Porta Potty Rant. Go! Over there, he just doesn't care. He's going off on a crowd of people, throwing words in the air like he just don't care. He's yelling at all of us sheeple. It's a Scotty Porta Potty Rant. It's a Scotty Porta Potty Rant. It's a Scotty Porta Potty Rant. It's rant time.
All right, potty maniacs. I am going to go and swing for the fence this time. You know what really grinds my gears? Star Wars. That's right. I am going after you guys. Let's be 100% honest. Star Wars is not good. Original trilogy, corny as hell. It is just cheesy as hell. Prequel trilogy, only good thing about it is the memes. Let's be honest. Look deep down inside yourself. And are you not just laughing and quoting the memes as you watch that movie at this point?
What's wrong with your face?
I don't like sand. And don't even get me started on the Disney trilogy, all right? That's just, it doesn't even have, it's not even good in a funny way. But the worst thing about it is the fan base. You go put on all these ridiculous bathrobes and you go waggle these glow sticks at each other. You look like morons. You look like losers. And I hate to go and break that news to you. It's kind of like the Emperor's New Clothes, and I'm the one telling you you're running around butt-ass naked. And honestly, it would be a little bit less embarrassing than going around pretending to be a Jedi Master or a Sith Lord. All right? And what is a Jedi? It's a stupid space wizard. Get into your sci-fi or get into fantasy. Don't you just be doing this stupid, I fly spaceships. but I also know magic and fire lightning bolts out of my fingers and lift stuff in the air. It is stupid. It is dumb. Get into a real series like Lord of the Rings or Star Trek. Thank you very much. Good night, and God bless the United States of America.
Every week, we're trying to get canceled in some way. We're trying to just ignite people to just hate us. And I love it. It's so funny.
I ain't telling you
Scott.
anything you don't already know.
Sean O'Hare, thank you very much.
Oh, man. And you know, I think we need to get ahead of this Potty Maniacs trademark. Because that destroyed me. That's good,
Let
Scott.
me tell you something, Pooper.
I mean, I like that you prefaced it. You talked about how we talk about poop as we get older. He just dove right in. You opened
that was the
porta
perfect
potty
segue.
door. You pulled up the seat, and Scott's like, "I'm gonna dive into that because I gotta
Yes, dude,
I gotta go
'cause
shuffle through some crap and talk about Star Wars." Apparently,
I'm dynamic. I can go roll up the punches.
Oh, man, that's great. This is great. We're on fire here. Good job, Scott. Good job. Good
Scott's about
rant.
to be lit on fire is what's
Yes.
gonna happen, and I'm here for it.
Yep, totally here. All right, well, with that wonderful comment to end this episode, it's time. We'll catch you on the next episode. I appreciate you as always. I love these two goobers here. Go check out their stuff, and we're still waiting for Scott to get us that Twitch handle. Get your Saturn fixed, bro. Hurry up, get on this so we can throw people your way.
I'm trying.
Anyway, listeners, viewers, everybody, we appreciate you. You awesome, you the best. And we'll catch you later. Bye.